right. So if you follow the news at all, you will have seen that American Eagle, the clothing company, recently put out an ad series starring actress Sydney Sweeney, who is in a lot of kind of drama shows like Euphoria and White Lotus, that kind of thing. She's very attractive. And American Eagle thought it would be attractive and funny and clever to put out ads for denim where they use a play on words, jeans as in genetics and jeans as in blue jeans. Oh boy, the left did not like that one. Feminists in particular, and you know exactly the types, are apoplectic about this. And we have a little video compilation here that was put together by Sydney Watson, who is a very good political commentator on YouTube. You guys should definitely check her out as well. Can we play the unhinged clip?
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Did American Eagle just run an ad for eugenics?
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it.
That's Nazi propaganda. Wow.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
It is Nazi propaganda. There's no way around it. Let me explain. Hypothetically, let's say we did live in a nation prior to 2016 and all the bullshit that has coincided with it. And you put out an ad, a white, blonde, blue-eyed, Hitler's wet dream talking about how much she loves her genetics. It would still be weird. But then you add the fact that the nation is on its last leg promoting this Christian nationalism, white supremacist, fascist, bigot bullshit alongside a leader that has explicitly stressed the importance of being gene rich as opposed to gene natural, which falls alongside a lot of the same things that Hitler promoted back in Nazi Germany.
What? What?
What indeed? Yikes, they are mad. I actually, besides the politics point of this, I always think it's really weird when somebody gets this defensive and upset when someone else is complimented. Saying that Sydney Sweeney is attractive, she has good genes, doesn't mean that other people who look different don't have good genes or aren't attractive. So, Jim, why are they so mad? They act like we haven't had non-white, non-traditionally attractive people in ads for years now. So I'm curious, why this one? Why now?
Because the woke era is over, and it happened very suddenly, right around early November of 2024. The American people said, we've had enough of that. It wasn't just a vote for Donald Trump or against Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. Everybody knows it because they can feel it, right? You can feel it in your bones, and you're seeing it in where our pop culture is now going, or I should say returning. When you lose your dominant cultural position from which you imposed cultural tyranny for years and years and years, and then suddenly, overnight, seemingly overnight, it's all gone, you're going to be upset. Those crazy ladies, those radical, brainwashed radical feminists who probably have 2 degrees and $200,000 in debt that they're never going to pay off because they were waiting for Biden, where Kamala Harris to just wave it away. Their lives are not as exciting or fulfilling as they once were because they were in the dominant cultural position. And America, and I think the world, has said, we're not doing that anymore. We are not, we're not going to pretend that a 500 square foot billboard in Times Square of a, let's just say, not conventionally attractive and probably obese person wearing Calvin Klein underwear is good. And we're not going to pretend that that is aesthetically pleasing. Look at all the nose rings in all of these people, and the tattoos and the hair colors. They are anti Sydney Sweeney. They're anti-traditional beauty. And they really believed that they had made the society and the culture turn a corner, and everything would be the way they wanted it to be, reflective of their aesthetic and their desires. And the United States of America and the American people, and now corporate America, which, by the way, was bullied into making us all pretend that this was normal and that the normalcy of before was somehow oppression. That's nobody believes that anymore. We used to pretend to believe it. Basically, a lot of people did, just to keep these people from screaming in your faces. If this happened, if American Eagle decided to hire Sydney Sweeney in this ad campaign 3 years ago, social media would have blown up and tried to destroy American Eagle. Those days are over. Those days are over. And instead, American Eagle stock skyrocketed when the ad hit, and is still going up because of all the controversy. This is the greatest, being the first one out of the box to return to normalcy is a good thing for American Eagle. And you're going to see a lot of other companies follow suit. And there's just, I put that little clip together, and I'm sorry if you guys were, anybody was triggered by it. It was pretty funny. My favorite one was that young, crazy redhead who's crazy even among crazy redheads. She's pegging the scale on being a crazy redhead. When she said, I was listening to it again as we're running it through. She said, if any of this happened prior to 2016, exactly, it would have been a problem prior to 2016, but it's not 2016 anymore. And we are returning, I think, in so many ways in our politics, in our federal government, as we're going to be talking about, dismantling the deep state. People, the left and Democrats always like to say, you vote for change. Let's vote for change. Of course, the unofficial or the slogan of Barack Obama when he came on the scene in 2008 was hope and change. What we're seeing now is actual change. And I think more than just hope, but proof that we are going to return to normal, and we're not going to keep pretending that the crazy, born out of academia norms of the radical left are actually norms and are actually normal. We're done pretending with that. And so you're going to see more meltdowns, and we'll be here to cover it, which is the fun part. The Heartland Institute is happy to welcome a sponsor to this program, Advisor Metals. If you listen to a lot of conservative shows, you hear a lot of pitches for buying precious metals. Well, we're here to tell you about why we trust Advisor Metals over all of them. It's the man who runs the company. Ira Brzezinski is the managing member and owner of Advisor Metals. Ira has decades of experience in precious metals and is the only person in the physical precious metals industry who has the Commodities Future Trade Commission federal registration. What does this mean for you? It's that everything Ira or a member of his team says to you has to be factual. There is no sales pitch or bait and switch. Ira is held to the highest ethical standards, and there is full transparency. If you want to diversify your investment portfolio and your savings, if you are planning for retirement and are concerned about economic uncertainty, if you want a tangible asset that is easy to buy and sell, you can secure your assets with a wide range of physical precious metals by getting in touch with our friend Ira at Advisor Metals, and Ira will make it very easy for you. Please visit climaterealismshow.com/metals, and you can leave your information for Ira and get started with investing in precious metals and expand your current portfolio. That's climaterealismshow.com/metals. And when you talk to Ira, be sure to let him know who sent you. That helps us as you're helping your financial future by diversifying with precious metals at Advisor Metals.
Our producer, Andy, had a really good idea in the background here. I don't know if he can do it for us. He says that he wants to play the Jaguar ad again as comparison to seeing, what ads are reasonable and normal, according to the left, that they have no problem with whatsoever, compared to what is apparently fascism. So if Sydney Sweeney's ad is fascism, I don't really know what to label the Jaguar ad. So while he digs for that, Sam, let's go to you. I mean, obviously, I think Jim is right that this reflects something deeper than just, feminists are mad that someone attractive is on TV, right? And on billboards and stuff. I mean, we remember a couple of years ago, the like fat acceptance stuff with Calvin Klein was, as Jim referred to earlier, was something that conservatives were mad about, but it kind of faded out because we're like, Well, they're not trying to appeal to us anyway, so who cares? But it's actually starting to get very, very heated in the advertising space. NASCAR just released like the coolest ad ever. That was clearly recruitment propaganda for the Navy, but it was still like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I joked to a friend that, my goodness, it's working if this is propaganda. But Sam, what's your take on this whole freak out?
I think that this whole past 2 decades have reflected technological and economic changes. And I don't want to get, I'm not going to get too technical here, but the point is that the takeover of the internet by a few small corporations made it possible for the internet to speak kind of with one voice. So the whole world is speaking with one voice, and it was very left wing and very sort of culturally left wing voice, and that became more and more powerful until around, let's say, 2021, 22, 23, and now it started to recede. And the reason that happened was because technological and economic change enabled Elon Musk to buy Twitter and create an alternative voice that could be heard. Now, these voices on both sides were already there. Naomi Wolf wrote this book called The Beauty Myth in the 1990s. And her whole premise was that human beauty is a myth, and that there's no reality there, and it's just whatever, it's all social. But it's not. And anybody with any kind of knowledge of the human genetics and how the human brain works knows that there is a sense of beauty, that there are things that the human mind finds attractive and things that it doesn't. And then you add in the notion of equality. And the premise that you have here is that, well, there is no such thing as beauty, and everyone should be considered equally beautiful. And therefore, anybody who makes any claim to the contrary, that something is more beautiful than something else, is saying that that thing is intrinsically more valuable than something else, which is a fallacy, a fallacious move in logic. So you're saying, well, everybody should be considered equal. And so since there's no such thing as beauty anyway, then everybody's equal. So, but that's obviously not true. And so what happened was that when they had a monopoly on discourse, basically a monopoly, they were able to shut everything down. So you couldn't give any reasonable point of view to the contrary. Now that's not true. And so you go from Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney to the American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney, and it's a natural movement. It really is. And one thing I find very interesting is that the last commentator in the clips that we showed said, "Can you think of anything more fascist than this?" And she was relating that to the name American Eagle. That something that's American and patriotic is by nature fascist. In prior years, that would have just gone and just sat there, and nobody would have been able to respond to it. But now it's contradicted immediately, and everybody can hear it. You can go hear it if you want to. So I think that this shows this isn't just a change in attitude. This is a change in the way the world works, and therefore, in my view, it's more permanent and more lasting.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm about to inflict something upon our viewership. We have been asked to not do this. We are going to do it anyway. Here you are, the Jaguar ad.
At least we have the sound
I'm
now.
I'm especially sorry to Arthur Morgan. Please do not rob any trains in retaliation for this travesty here.
The thing about this ad is I think it came out in December or January, right? And so, I mean, that's like getting the last ticket for the Titanic. I mean,
Yeah.
This was so off the mark, and the world had moved on, that this was not only not edgy as it never was. I think when we first covered this, I said I enjoyed this a lot more when it was a New Order video in 1983. But I
really liked The Fifth Element. I thought that was a great movie.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but it's like it's out of a step. So you're not going to see Dylan Mulvaney doing any ads anymore. You're not going to see any ads from Jaguar on this. And in fact, so much has changed. I mean, I think Jaguar had announced that they were going to go all electric. I believe just a few years ago. Didn't Mercedes-Benz or another one of these luxury brands say that they were phasing out the internal combustion engine and we're going to go all electric for a market that actually doesn't exist even in the luxury genre? And you're going to see very quietly all of these car companies decide that they're going to go back to normal too. And they're not going to pretend that, government imposed and, culturally imposed by those, running the culture, that is permanent and that's the way things have to be. The market actually is going to decide these things. And the market has decided that Sydney Sweeney is hot and that her commercials for these blue jeans are a return to, as somebody mentioned, they were controversial at the time, but commercials from the 80s with Brooke Shields. And I believe it was either Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. Boy, if I remembered that exactly and didn't say another brand, I don't know what that says. But a return to normalcy is what I think a lot of people were craving. And again, as I mentioned before, we were really just pretending all of these things. The vast majority of people never believe them, and they're done lying to themselves and they're done lying in public. And we are going back to normal, and it's a great thing.
I like that you mentioned the Titanic, because very much like that, the woke people, and especially the people who were working with corporations to make them more woke, did not see this iceberg coming. And they really should have, because it's big, it's out there, and it was right in front of them, and they just crashed right into it. And you know what? Great.
Yeah, well, I really think that they just live in their little like marketing universe bubbles and their like cool, fun offices with the built-in coffee shops and stuff. And they don't leave that little marketing bubble, and so they think that what people want to see is what their like DEI advisors tell them people want them to see.